equity. I just wanted to put that on record. If that is the purpose, then this government institution, it's going to be a new government institution. What will it be? A subsidiary of Land Bank? Will it be a subsidiary of the DBP? They will make investments into certain corporations. I think it would be important to put that on record, Mr. President. Yeah.
As far as I can interpret the proposal, the amendment that the central bank proposes is only to create special holding companies, which in turn will help the distressed banks. And this is why probably the National Treasury and the DOF are in favor of this, are endorsing this.
Yeah. Not to help distressed banks, but to help
distressed enterprises.
Distressed enterprises. So normally, if we're talking about credit, then Land Bank and DBP, banks ang nagbibigay ng credit. But once we talk about putting up a company of this nature, iba yan, ha? Hindi lang credit yan. Yan pwedeng, it can buy shares. I'm not saying I'm against it, but let's put that on record if that is the intention, Mr. President. Yes.
If I may, Mr. President, with the indulgence again of the two gentlemen, I think the language, if I'm not mistaken, the language offered by the distinguished minority leader would be wide enough to cover both equity infusion as well as the loans to the various sectors we mentioned here. So
okay.
It's just an expression of purpose, I think.
Yeah, precisely the point. Because originally, this is only for
loans.
Credit.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, maliwanag that we are saying through the Land Bank and the DBP, they will be putting up companies that could buy equity. I'm not saying I'm against it, but we should be knowledgeable that this is part of what the government response will be.
The gentleman is correct, Your Honor, and we appreciate his inputs, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, with the indulgence of the minority lord.
Senator Villar.
I've always believed that government should not infuse equity to a private company. Because government, pinagbibili nga natin yung mga kumpanya ng government kasi palaging lugi. Bakit ngayon mag-i-infuse tayo ng equity sa private company? I don't believe in that. So, I would like to give low interest credit, but never infuse equity. Because our government is not good in managing companies. So why will you infuse equity in companies? Just help them go through this pandemic, but never infuse equity. Yun lang ang stand ko dito. I completely agree with Senator Recto that this is very difficult. And if you're going to create a company that will infuse equity, you have to be definite here. Ano ba yung kumpanyang yon? Sino magpa-manage ng kumpanyang yon, ng holding company? And sino ba composition nun? At ano ang policy ng company na yon? We should be clear here. Otherwise, dadali nila yung pera ng gobyerno sa mga private companies na we don't even know at walang transparent. If you want to create a company here, you will specify and tell us what the company will do, this holding company. I don't
Mr. President.
that we should include it in the provision with regards to Land Bank and DBP. Should be another company if you want to put it and explain to us what is that company. Because I don't believe that government should infuse equity to private companies. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, yes.
Yes, the minority leader.
Yes, we do appreciate the points raised by the senator from Las Piñas. We just wish to point out that the present amendment proposed by the committee would allow equity infusion. So that is not changed. That concept is not changed by the amendment, Mr. President. What the central bank is simply proposing is that the equity infusion should be through a holding company, which is still a government-owned and controlled corporation. So it is still an investment in, or the infusion of equity in a government GOCC. But anyway, we have submitted this, Mr. President. The Senate President pro tempore has placed on record his views on this point. He has no basic objection to the proposal. If it is in order, can we reiterate a motion to have this adopted?
Mr. President,
Senator Lacson is recognized.
this is a simple reminder to our colleagues. Let us not lose sight of the fact that this piece of legislation, once approved into law, is time-bound. It will last only up to September 30. And I noticed that some of the proposed amendments would involve long-term implementation, if not, entail planning, including study, before it's implemented. So we are proposing amendments that may not be too realistic, considering that the law may lapse of September 30, and some of the proposed amendments may not be implemented anymore, Mr. President. That's only a reminder.
Mr. President, we have three others who would like to provide comments. We have Senator Villar once again, Senator Pangilinan, and Senator Drilon, Mr. President.
Senator Villar is recognized.
Mr. President, there's no provision here that we will create a holding company. Suddenly, we're building a holding company to provide equity infusion from government to private. That's a difficult thing to do, and it has not been successful. So maybe if you're going to do that, you have to explain to us what is that holding company, what will it do. I thought that it's only the land bank which will provide credit to the company. That's very simple. But creating a holding company, we do not know who will manage it, what will it do. That's a very difficult provision. So maybe we should abandon that holding company. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Mr. President, we recognize Senator Pangilinan, after which we recognize Senator Drilon.
Thank you. With the permission of the sponsor and I think the proponent of the amendment, the minority leader, I just want to, if Senator Recto is willing to respond to some questions that I'd like to raise on the earlier manifestation. Would Senator Recto be willing?
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you. I just want to, if it's possible for you, Senator Ralph, to sort of give us a scenario, a possible scenario, given the current economic hardships that the country is facing, wherein, again, we will find this provision, this proposed amendment, how it is to be applied. So that we get a better sense of what we mean by a holding company infusing capital for a particular company stress.
My impression with this amendment is that DBP and Land Bank will be given capital, and DBP and Land Bank could put up a subsidiary, which is this holding company, use that like a special purpose vehicle to buy equity, preferred shares, as example, to distressed companies.
Can you give us an example?
In essence, I'm not totally against that, because I'm sure that there will be certain companies that may need assistance from government that are strategic in nature. Okay?
For example, an airline company.
It could be a bank, it could be an airline company.
Yes.
It's not strategic. I think banks are strategic. I think airlines are strategic. I'm not against that, no? For as long as it's done properly. My problem is that if we do that, I thought from the very beginning that the purpose of giving capital to DBP and Land Bank was to help principally MSMEs. Okay? And that the commercial banks should be able to take care of the bigger boys. Okay?
Mhm.
And we did not discuss this.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Having said that, like I said, I am not totally against it. Okay? I just hope that government banks, and maybe with the prodding of the BSP, that the commercial banks will really do help MSMEs as well.
Yes, yes.
When they do this, when they do that, what happens in October? When just like the question of Senator Lacson, what happens in October if this law is already done with?
For as long as they're able to finish all of this or to do the putting up the corporation, giving the capital prior to September or prior to October, tuloy-tuloy na yan.
Yes. Yes, Mr. President, in response to that, this is an equity infusion, even under the proposed amendment of the committee. And therefore, it survives the cessation of this law because it is an equity infusion. If they cannot make this equity infusion before the law expires, then they can no longer do it.
All right.
Yeah. So, but Mr. President, actually, the change that is being sought is that the investment be made through a holding company. There is no change in the substance, in the powers. In fact, in my view, it can be done even with the present wording of the law. But having said that, Mr. President, I submit to the discretion of the body.
Senator Pangilinan, you may continue.
Yes, thank you. Just one clarification, if Senator Recto can help us understand this fully. Of course, there's a danger. Number one, that because the capital infusion must be done before the lapse. That's only 3-4 months. So, ang danger dyan, mamadaliin.
Hindi naman. When we say the capital infusion government to the bank. All the bank has to do is put up a company.
Okay.
Ang gawin yun until September, until October. And that survives already. Tuloy-tuloy na yan.
Okay.
I have no problem with that. Okay? I just hope that MSMEs are provided credit as well. Okay? Like I said, I think the airline industry is strategic. I think banks are strategic.
Yes.
Of course, banks are more, I suppose the banks are a little more important than the airline industry. Essential nga yung banko eh.
Yes.
And then the airline industry as well is important because it's part of your logistic chain. You need to deliver. Right?
Yes.
It's also important, I understand that. No? But
Mr. President.
mas mabuti na lang na they let us know also what they really plan to do. No? So, kasi madali lang to eh, bayanihan.
Because the concern, and I share the concern of Senator Recto, and I just place that on record, that precisely the amounts that we are putting into these banks are to address those who are most vulnerable, and it would defeat the purpose of this infusion if the big guns would be able to secure the funding when at the expense, of course, and of the smaller ones who are struggling. After all, but the majority, a vast majority of enterprises are small and medium enterprises, and then you have, of course, 20% of them that are really big. But I just want to place that on record that my concern is, yes, we do not object to this, but the intent precisely of this infusion and the capital and the amounts being appropriated is precisely to address those who are the most vulnerable in the business sector. Thank you, Mr.
The
President.
solution here Oh,
The chairman,
because- Mr. President,
Mr. President.
the
with the
chairman,
permit-
Senator Angara wishes to react first before we recognize.
No, I'll give way to our colleagues.
all right,
Thank you, Mr.
Senator
President. Thank you.
Alfredo,
I'll give way.
Senator Alfredo.
just a final point here, Mr. President. Maybe what we can do is, okay, so marrying the ideas as well. Maybe we do that with the DBP or the Land Bank and then keep the other one for MSMEs. Let's just create one vehicle. Instead, both banks will create two. I mean, if we're going to adopt the proposal, para may siguradong may maiwan din for the others.
Again, sorry, what, Senator Rob?
The proposal is to create a special vehicle by the DBP and by the Land Bank.
Why don't we just place the last priority must be the SMEs, SMEs?
Mr. President, I just want to make a comment. Mr. President.
Yeah, it's recognized.
Senator Villar, Mr. President, would like to be recognized, as well as Senator Marcos, Mr. President. Senator Villar.
According to statistics, Mr. President, 95% of our businesses in the Philippines are small and micro. 4% ang medium, 1% lang ang large. So siguro dapat i-allocate na lang natin to sa small, micro, and wag na doon sa large. Anyway, those large companies, they can take care of themselves. They know what they're doing, and they should not be availing of this kind of this grant from small grant worth 50 billion, you know. And besides, airline companies, according to study, net loser yan eh. Kung i-compare mo lahat ng airline companies, mas malaki ang nalulugi kaysa tumutubo. Kaya mahirap mag-invest dyan. Kaya lang nila minsan nag-i-invest sila dyan because of the prestige of owning an airline company. Pero if you analyze the airline company, mas marami ang loser kaysa gainer. So, kawawa naman tong pera na to, mawawala to.
Correct. I asked I asked Ramon ang why he bought PAL before. Are you earning there? He said, no. Pang-PR lang yun, kaya binili ko. That was his answer. But he sold it again.
Mr. President. Yes, Mr. President.
Mr. President, may I recognize Senator Julon.
Yes, yes.
Mr. President. Mr. President, you know, to avoid all of this discussion, Mr. President, for the record, we are withdrawing the amendment and just let the committee report stand. We are withdrawing the amendment, Mr. President.
Pwede naman pala eh. You are the hero of the same.
So, Mr. President, did the sponsor take note of that withdrawal?
Yes, we have not acted on it anyway.
Okay, Mr. President.
The majority leader who's so very conscious of withdrawals and the insertions, Mr. President.
That was in a different time, Mr. President. It's now those things are now in the time of Senator Sherwin Gatchalian. Mr. President, before we act, since no other member, Mr. President, may we recognize Senator Amy Marcos.
Yes, Mr.
Senator Amy Marcos is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, Mr. Majority Leader, also our chairman and sponsor. Kakarampot lamang ang ibibigay natin sa bill na ito. Bakit pa natin ibibigay sa malalaki at sa capital infusion? I share the concern and the doubt of Senators Villar and Recto about endowing with a capital infusion all these very large corporations. It resonates of subprime and too big to fail. And being that this is only until September, those would be really medium-term solutions. Indeed, the way it is written at present, MSMEs are written at the very end as if they were a mere afterthought, when in fact they should be the most efficiently targeted and addressed. Yun lang po. Salamat.
All right, thank you. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe Senator Tolentino just messaged me that he wants also to make a short manifestation. Is he around, Mr. President?
He's, we can call it. With Senator De La Rosa.
Maybe, Mr. President, I just got a call from the DOF because I had to find out if they were going to certify this particular measure. Mr. President, may I ask that we move into a caucus before we approve it on second reading, Mr. President? Because better that way, rather than we waste our time and then we recall the measure again to make perfecting amendments, Mr. President. May I ask for a 5-minute Senate suspension to go into a quick caucus before we approve all the amendments, Mr. President? With the permission of the body.
Senator Tolentino is here. Let us do away with that manifestation first.
Okay, Mr. President.
Go ahead, Senator Tolentino.
President, I have to rush from a
Secret meeting
in-depth conversation
with Senator De La Rosa and Senator
De La Rosa
Lapid.
and
Yes, I saw
Senator-
you. I saw the three of you.
and Senator Lapid.
There is a CCTV in the lounge.
Yes, Mr. President. Just a minor editorial amendment for purposes of specificity and statutory construction. On line 9,
Off
page
page.
15, after the word LGUs, add comma, and add the words under
What line? What line, boss?
Line 9.
line 9,
Line 9, okay.
comma, after LGUs, add the words under Republic Act 9178, Mr. President.
9178.
9178.
What is that law, Your Honor?
It's a law granting
BIMBI, is that the BIMBI law?
it's the Barangay Micro
BIMBI.
Business Enterprises Law,
Yeah.
Mr. President.
Okay, we accept, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr.
All right.
Sponsor,
Any objection?
for very accommodating.
Hearing none, adopted. Senator Gatchalian is recognized. And then Senator Tiveros.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, first of all, I'd like to thank Senator Angara for accepting all 9 of my proposals in one form or the other, and I thank him for seeing some merit in our amendments. However, there is one, just for consistency sake, Mr. President, and this is an amendment of mine on page 20. On page 9. On page 20, Mr. President. Line 8.
Line
8.
8.
Line 8, page 20, Your Honor.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
To delete CQ and change it to ECQ or MECQ.
That's line 7.
That is line, it's line 7, Mr. President.
All right.
Just to make it consistent with the previous page, line 9, page 19.
What does the sponsor say?
I just want to clarify. This is your amendment also, no? You're
Yes,
clarifying your amendment?
Yes, Mr. President, I am amending my amendment because just to make it consistent with item letter UU, which is ECQ or MECQ.
We understand and we accept, Mr. President.
Thank you.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, adopted.
That's it, Mr. President. Thank you again to the good sponsor.
And
Yeah.
thank you very much to Senator Gatchalian, the Chairman of Energy, for
Senator Tiveros and then
his,
Senator
lending his
Lacson.
expertise. It's the most basic.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay na.
Good sponsor, nais ko lang ipaalala na earlier, our discussion was that upon receiving the advice of the minority leader, masasagot na po ng good sponsor yung second proposed amendment po. Para maging halos 100% yung pagtanggap ng good sponsors.
I'm also about to accept the amendment you made earlier, Madam Sponsor.
Thank you so much, good
Yeah.
sponsor.
All right.
Thank you, Mr.
Accepted.
President.
Yes.
Therefore, adopted. Senator Lacson.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is on page 26. I have no problem with line 22. After 2 years or upon a determination that the threat of COVID-19 has been successfully contained or abated, whichever comes first, the revenues derived under paragraphs G and H shall accrue to the general fund of the government. The issue, Mr. President, is the next sentence. The BIR shall implement closure orders against offshore gaming licensees, operators, agents, service providers, and support providers who fail to pay the taxes due, and such entities shall cease to operate. I have no problem with this personally, Mr. President. In fact, this is a laudable amendment as proposed. Dahil tama lang na hagarin ng BIR yung mga hindi nagbabayad ng tax na mga POGO and other similar gaming operations. My problem, Mr. President, is this might run counter to Article 6, Section 26, Paragraph 1 of the Constitution. Every bill passed by Congress shall embrace only one subject, which shall be expressed in the title thereof. Parang tapos na po yung COVID, inaatasin natin yung BIR para isaran yung mga entities as mentioned. That's only a concern that I would like to share with our colleagues, but I have no problem. As I mentioned earlier, this is a laudable amendment. Baka lang ma-strike tayo rin yes, Mr. President.
Baka misplaced.
Baka misplaced. Parang rider provision to, Mr. President.
Baka si gerrymander ang author nito. Senator.
Mr. President, we recognize Minority Floor Leader, Mr. President. Senator Drilon.
Say, Drilon Amendment, Your Honor.
Drilon Amendment. All right. Senator Drilon, the Minority Leader.
Mr. President, thank you very much. Yes, this is our proposed amendment. We wish to emphasize that this is a power of the Bureau of Internal Revenue at this point, as we speak. They have the authority to close entities which are guilty of tax fraud and non-payment of the correct taxes. This does not grant them any new authority. We just inserted this to emphasize the need for the collection of these taxes, which we will use to fund the funding requirements under this bill. And having said that this clearly is germane to the principal purpose of the bill, being to provide funds for the recovery plans and programs of the government as we have enumerated in the bill. That's our submission, Mr. President.
I was about to say that this is an inherent power of the BIR.
Yes.
So
It
why
is redundant. Why put it here
insert it?
and run the risk of being questioned later, Mr. President, as opposed to Article 6, Section 26, Paragraph 1. One title, one subject.
We maintain, Mr. President, that this provision is germane to the principle, the purpose, ultimate purpose of the law, because it provides an enforcement mechanism to achieve the purpose of the law, Mr. President.
So what happens after September 30, Mr. President?
The power is still there.
Valid?
The power is still there because that's an inherent power.
That's what I'm saying, Mr. President. It's already an inherent power of the BIR. But as I said, Mr. President, I'm not objecting to this. It's just a concern that I'm expressing. This is another provision. Kasi wala na yung COVID, naatasan natin yung BIR, nagawin yung trabaho nila, Mr. President.
Well, anyway, the majority leader wishes to have a caucus. After this, we can take it up also there during the caucus. I think this is a very important point that we should discuss also.
And I would just like to take this opportunity also to thank the sponsor, the distinguished sponsor, for accepting my amendment on page 8. I just added the words judicious and economical to expeditious manner para yung overpricing will no longer a freewheeling enterprise, Mr. President. That's
Thank
all.
you. Mr. President, I'd like to thank Senator Lacson for that because 2 words, but such an important amendment with big effect on the public purse, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. President, we have Senator Amy Marcos who'd like to be recognized, after which Senator Coco Pimentel, and then hopefully we can already have the caucus, Mr. President. Senator Amy and Senator Coco.
Senator
you very
Ivy
much
wishes to
for-
be recognized, Mr. President.
Senator Amy Marcos recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and Majority Leader. I would just like to add and propose an amendment deriving from the garment workers sector. This is reference to page 10 and section 3, letter T, number 1, which seeks to retain the employment of 30 to 50,000 of our industry workers. Can we just add, subject to style once again, that the award shall be made to the lowest domestic
Sorry to
bidder?
interrupt, Your Honor. Sorry to interrupt. I can't seem to find the reference.
Page 10, what line?
We're looking at the new copy already, dear colleagues.
This is page 10, but I know it's section 3, T,
Section
Tokyo.
Section 3?
T, Tokyo po.
No, section 3.
This is the last one that I got.
Could you read the
Yes,
provisions
it-
are?
It basically makes reference to the production of PPEs and the preference given to domestically produced goods.
Where's
This has reference to
PPE.
yes, line 15 is what you mean, no?
yes, that's
Page
correct.
9.
Yes.
Page 9, not page 10.
Page 9 na ba? Yung copy that I have.
Tama po, Mr. President.
Page 10?
Yes,
What
yes.
line?
Line 15, Your Honor.
15, 16.
Yes, we found it, ma'am. Thank you. This is a DTI amendment just for the knowledge of the body, Your Honor.
Yes, that's right. Of course, we applaud the desire to give preference to the domestic production because this will save 30 to 50,000 jobs. However, can we simply add also, in cognizance of Senator Pink's concern that no disadvantage should be against the public purse, dapat sana rito, dagdagan na lang natin, provided that the lowest domestic bidder is not higher than or 20% in excess of the lowest foreign bid. Para lang hindi naman lumobo yung presyo. At yun nga, and thereafter, and in addition, and provided further that it has secured from the DTI a certification, etc.
Yeah, Mr. President, the intention is very good, but the problem is I don't think there's a bidding for these things.
Yeah, I was about to
that's
say
the
that.
problem,
There's no
Your Honor.
bidding.
Wala na pong bidding kasi dito. It's negotiated eh. So,
Yes, because we gave the powers, the special powers to the president. That's why no bidding is.
we exempted them, these
Necessary.
materials, Your Honor, from the operation of RA 9184. That's why Senator Ping made that amendment.
Yes, that's correct. I also questioned the CONWEB that recommended this amendment. However, they said that bidding was still conducted or prices were still obtained from them. So I don't know how that could be inputted.
Sino yung nagbidding? DOH? DTI?
DTI and DOH in partnership. I think they went through the Philippine trade sa ating mga exporter.
Perhaps, Your Honor, you're referring to yung soliciting 3 offers. I think that's what
That's
they call
right.
it.
I
Okay.
think that's more like it, Chairman.
Subject to style, so we can craft we accept subject to style, Mr. President.
Okay.
So we can craft the applicable language together with
All
the
right.
opponent, Your Honor.
All right.
Thank
Any
you.
objection?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And without using the word bidding or tender, let's simply make reference to no 20% excess of the lowest foreign bid. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Any objection? Hearing none, adopted.
Mr. President, we recognize Senator Pimentel and then we'll proceed to the caucus, Mr. President.
Senator Pimentel is recognized.
Thank you,
Senator Rosa.
Mr. President. I have a concern on page 19, line 24, or enumeration number 4, exemption from related party transaction restrictions. So our bill will encourages the BSP to give the banks and other non-bank financial institutions which agree to further loan extensions some regulatory relief, including exemption from related party transactions and restrictions. Ito pa ba yung self-dealing provisions? Hindi pa delikado ito, Mr. Sponsor?
Yes, I think he's pointed out something that might affect the prudential policies of banks. So if he moves to delete, I'll accept, Your Honor.
That is my proposed amendment that we delete this enumeration number 4, IV, Roman numeral number 4.
We accept, Your Honor, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, adopted.
And then
Becomes number 4.
Yes, Your Honor.
yes, sir. And then I have noticed that the bill prioritizes, that's my impression, non-essential businesses because they are repeatedly mentioned on page 11, paragraph Z, and paragraph AA. Is that the intention, Mr. Sponsor, to already prioritize non-essential businesses? Have we taken care of the essential businesses?
There's no intention, Your Honor, to favor any particular non-essential business. Perhaps it's just because these are also as a collegial product, so maybe those are the amendments we've accepted. There's no intention in response to the question.
Because if we can look at page 11, for example, lines 28 to 33, it is even mentioned here in the proviso that provided that priority shall be given to agri-fishery businesses and non-essential businesses that are small and medium enterprises, including startups. Have we taken care of the essential businesses that because we are now focusing on the non-essential businesses?
Well, I'm having a discussion here with Senator Gatchalian, and he's telling me that the essential businesses are food and health, apparently. Because I was also wondering what exactly is the delineation between an essential and non-essential. Well, I guess because in this period, essential businesses already doing well, like food and well, not all, but I think if you're looking at industries like groceries, I think they're among those who are flourishing in this pandemic. Those providing essential products, and the health, so medicine companies, pharmaceuticals, I think are also tending to be more profitable than other industries. So that's what I gather. But again, we're open to any amendment the gentleman may have, Mr. President.
Because when I was reading the bill, the impression I got is we are ready to take the next step already. It's as if we are taking the first step to take care of the essential businesses. So second step na tayo for non-essential businesses. So maybe we delete the distinction, Mr. Sponsor.
So is the motion to remove all references to non-essential?
Yes, because if we are already willing to introduce a low-interest loan program to non-essential businesses, all the more we should be willing to introduce a low-interest program for essential businesses.
What about removing non-essential on line 30 and line 32?
Yes, sir. And then there's also in line 35.
Permission of the Senate President and the sponsor and the interpolator. Just to put on the record, tama yung sinabi ni Senator Angara. By and large, ang talaga, the one hit the most are the non-essential, and that's one of the reasons why that's in the bill. No? We're not saying here na hindi natin dapat tulungan yung essential, but they will need less not all of them will be needing to borrow money. Pero sigurado yung non-essential, halimbawa, micro, small, medium enterprise, mga restaurant, pwede lang sila take out pero walang dine-in. Yan ang mga malaking tatamaan dyan. Hotels, restaurants, non-essential lahat yan. And they are the ones who are hit the most. And that is the philosophy behind why they are in the bill. I just wanted to put that on record. And of course, it's a pleasure of everyone, but that's it.
Thank you, Senator Recto, for that. Thank you, Senator Recto.
Mr. President, may recognize Senator Kiko, but may I reiterate, Mr. President, before our colleagues make other comments and proposals, I just got feedback, Mr. President, from the DOF. Their comments on our amendments are numerous. So maybe it's better that we take up a caucus first and then discuss all these issues rather than bumping our heads today now and we still won't get the certification. And Mr. President, it will be a wasted effort. If it's all right with the gentlemen, our friends, then we can proceed with the caucus. Mr. President.
Wasting a lot of time. So, Senator, the session is suspended for a few minutes and we will go into caucus. The asked Secretary